On that note, I want to say a very big thank you to our volunteer sponsors, because what would we be without our volunteers? Volunteers are our lifeblood. They are the ones that make everything possible. And so starting from our lead volunteer Kader to all of our other volunteers at Testopper, I say a very big thank you. Thank you for your willingness to support us. Thank you Chotai Law, Skill Core, and Light Bulb, Capgemini, Wave Labs, and Microsoft. Thank you very much for empowering us to empower everyone else. Thank you very much, and let's move to the next slide, Kader. All right, it is my great pleasure to welcome Shai, who is a good friend and from Enlight Bulb Marketing. Shai, are you with us?
How you doing?
I am great. How are you doing?
Enjoying posting to everybody in the chat and listening in.
All right. So good morning and welcome, Shai. And please tell us, why did you join Testopper as a volunteer? What about Testopper calls to you, and why is this so fulfilling?
Thank you for that question. I'm going to do this in about 60 seconds or less. So I think for me, the biggest thing is I was looking for an organization that makes an impact, gaining a whole new perspective. I know I'm coming from the marketing background, and even with AI, this has such a connection because marketing is so reliant these days more and more on AI. But for me, making an impact was a big thing. Getting a new perspective from different, not just different areas from software and other areas, but also from different backgrounds and cultures. There's so many diversity. There's so much diversity in Testopper. I think that's incredible. And obviously for me, it was also very important to give kind of back selflessly. I think, I've been very blessed in my career, and I've worked with some incredibly smart people, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to give back to the community. And just because, developers sometimes think about software development, about their skills, but they don't think about self-branding and other things. So I think I can give back in many, many ways, both to individual members, but also to my team on the marketing side and to the organization as a whole. And then the last thing, I think for me, it was, I love networking and I love talking to people, as you can tell, love talking. So, networking with different people and establishing lifelong relationships, and also being exposed to people that normally I wouldn't cross paths with. From Microsoft, from PwC, from the city of Brampton. There's so many opportunities for not just for myself, but also for our volunteers as a team to make those connections, and people who attend these sessions as well. So I think promoting that for myself, but also for everybody else involved, I think was very key. The last thing that I would love to mention was more about being part of a greater ecosystem, which I think most of us know that, networking is very important, but I think getting yourself, this is an opportunity, not just for myself, but for everybody involved to get their name out into the ecosystem of, and into basically every single industry, to get their name out and to show that they're a subject matter expert. So this is kind of the passion I had, and this is why I thought it was very important for me to join. So hopefully I kept that to the 60 seconds, and I'm excited, and I hope anybody who's listening, from all the people who are attending today, we would love to see you join more programs, because I think it's a huge value. As somebody who's not a developer, for me, it made an impact. So thank you.
Thank you, Shai. That was fantastic. We really appreciated everything. Every second of those 60 seconds, you made them count, and we thank you for that. And there are a lot of great comments for Marin in the chat, actually, and people are thanking him for a wonderful presentation. So I just wanted to make sure Marin knew that, and there was some awesome insights on that presentation. So thanks so much, Marin. Kader?
Thank you, Firuzan. Thank you, Marin. Again, thank you, Shai. We look forward to your continuous support for advancing the community. And this community is not for-profit community. It is not for-profit community. It is not for-profit community, right? It's a for-impact organization. And the only way that we can grow this organization, as people coming together as a people-led grassroots movement, to take this to the next level, as Marin was mentioning. Thanks again, Shai, and I'm looking forward to many other like Shai to join us in this incredible journey. All right. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ashek Mahmood, dear friend, partner and practice leader, AI, IoT, and Edge platform from IBM, to share his insights on Edge AI in the future of industrial operations. Ashek, over to you.
Hey everyone, how are you? I'm really excited to be part of the Test Hopper community. So thanks a lot, Kader, for inviting me. As Kader introduced my role already within IBM, I guess I won't go too far into that. But something I wanted to start with is that I came to Canada with a single mother, mid-90s as a 14-year-old, and the country looked very big to me coming from the smallest country, one of the smallest country called Bangladesh. I went to University of Waterloo in the year 2000, and again I had to reintroduce myself, moving to a different city and by myself. What helped me within this journey was really being participating in an internship program, right? That's the university provided, and now I think many institutions provide. And having that type of work and study at the same time, or one after the other, but within that support of I'm pursuing a degree and I'm doing a co-op or internship, I think is what changed my life. Because when I was in high school, I tried to do some work, but obviously those jobs were more like building boxes in a factory or walking the street trying to sell things. And all the skills I learned in those type of jobs actually did help me in future in my career. So my lessons are that anytime possible while you're studying, if you can do some internship, is very important. And every job we do learn something that we can take to our next job. And since then, I walked into IBM as a 19-year-old intern student, and it's almost 20 years from then, and I'm still part of IBM, the great company. So that's just a mini story I want to start with.
You still look like 19-year-old.
Yeah, which is another interesting point, right? Because it's still where I don't see a lot of people that looks like me when I see the executives in Canada, when I see the executives with the clients I work with, and that's something like but that's not how Toronto looks like, right? Anybody that's been in Toronto for a couple of months, they know that's not how Toronto looks like, right? So there's a lot of work to be done in diversity and inclusion, right? Try to understand the unique background each of us bring, and how by bringing all of that together, we can create a powerful community for Canada. So I will start to present a set of slides I've prepared. Let's see how that goes. Looks like this.
We can see your screen, Ashek.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if you could put it on the full screen, we should be good.
Yeah. Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So today I want to talk about two things. One is IBM's point of view on AI, IoT, and Edge, and a few programs IBM offers for Future Skills program. Let's talk about IBM platforms for AI and IoT. The focus for this platform, of course, AI is a broad topic. The area that I focus on is how can we use AI to converge the physical and digital world. And IoT and the sensors are an important piece of that to instrument the physical world, but then it creates mass amount of data. So what we would like to do is to create analytical machine learning models with those data that helps us predict, that helps us identify anomalies, that allows us to provide and perform real-time monitoring. That could be a factory setting, it could be a transportation setting, It could be a workplace. It could be any type of physical environment. And the real goal is to really create a digital twin of that environment that allows us to perform autonomous operation, reduce operational costs, increase uptime, create a more sustainable future that reduce climate risk, that reduce safety risk, and a resilience workforce that can rely on these technologies to perform operations remotely. And of course, with the pandemic that we're in right now, the importance of remote operations is more than ever. Some of the areas that we focus on in this journey it goes from really the asset intensive industries. And within the asset intensive industries, and this actually really applies to any industries, is these key principles for ethical AI. One is that AI is not here to replace human intelligence. It's not really artificial intelligence. It's here to augment human intelligence. The data that the AI uses to create insights belong to the creator, and then the insights also belong to the creator. So that means all the data I'm generating for my social media apps really belongs to me. Similarly, all the insights that's created from the data, let's say coming from a manufacturing plant, really belongs to that manufacturer. That's one of the fundamental principles that IBM takes. Really, we bring the algorithms to the models, our technology to work with your data and give you the insight that you own. And then the third principle is that any new technologies, including AI system, must be transparent and explainable. So I know at the beginning we talked a little bit about, Kader, you touched on the black box of AI. One of the key things we're focusing on is to open that black box and really creating systems that are fully explainable, that are not bias heavy. And similarly, as we start talking about even the AI researchers, there was a big diversity challenge within all the academias that were doing AI research over the last 20 years. And guess what happens? If your data set's biased, the results will be biased. And I think everybody read at least one stories like that where the AI is biased. And this is one of the reasons at IBM, we said we're not going to do general purpose AI. We're really going to focus on data coming from somebody who owns the data, and we're going to give the insights to somebody that should own the insight. So that's why we don't do things like general purpose facial recognition using data from social media, because IBM or whoever wants that insight don't own that data. But we will help you create video analytics and image recognitions on data that you generate from your factory to help you do visual inspection. So moving into the areas of connected industry, the Industry 4.0 that we want to get towards, these are some of the areas where my team globally as well as in Canada is focusing on a lot. Really looking into the heavy industries. One of the main area is how can I digitize my assets and operation, starting with management and maintenance of all the different assets, some of these industries from manufacturing to oil and gas to mining, to governments that have to maintain. Can I use advanced analytics to assess the health for these assets, optimize the inventory, and that's very important right now because the supply chain is being heavily disrupted. Can I use IoT instrumentation to get real-time information about these assets and really identify the patterns and detect any anomalies? And then as the curve goes, can I use things like AI vision to do what a human would do for visual inspection, either in the production line for quality inspection, or for worker safety, or anything on the outside world around the travel and transportation. AI vision is becoming big. All the EV cars are empowered with AI vision that are going towards more and more autonomous to help us become self-driving. And all of those technologies are really coming from this one area of computer vision. So we do a lot of work on that. And then the future, which is we are really just at the beginning of it, is can I combine augmented reality with AI, with 3D visualization to create that digital twin that allows me to do remote diagnostic to simulate what will happen in the physical world and really start to predict what will happen next. The simulation and prediction is what everybody wants to get towards. And there are a lot of claims of technologies for those. And there are a lot of fantastic technology for those as well. But my humble point of view is we're still at the early ages, very early days for almost all of these things, especially when it comes to the context of Industry 4.0. And some of the technology that will power all of these, obviously we're talking about AI and analytics, but one, the IoT, I want to introduce the concept of edge computing. If anybody not familiar with it, it's a really hot topic right now. Really the idea is when you generate so much data in a physical world, do I have enough bandwidth and do I have enough latency to send that massive amount of IoT data to the cloud, run the compute, run the AI, and get the insight back to the physical world. Think about my favorite example these days is that self-driving car that we want to get toward, right? Do we think we have so much time for the car to generate video data from its surrounding and make a decision around safety of the surrounding and make a decision around where to take the turn or slow down? We don't. So for that, well, edge computing is becoming a popular tier. The idea is, can I move compute closest to where the data is being generated? And edge computing, again, can have many different places where you can do it. You can basically have a very small footprint of a device and have that device running on a factory or running inside a car and put your compute there. And we're creating AI in a way that it optimizes and run there. But you can also have AI running on what the telcos are now looking to create, what they call it 5G multi-access edge computing. And this is a very new area, and I'm working with the Canadian telcos to roll this out, where you don't have to go as far as the cloud, but you can be somewhere in between, closer to the region you are to run some compute, not in a hardware box in your factory, not in the cloud, but somewhere in the middle. So all of these things are coming together, 5G, IoT, edge, AI, and mobile, and really bringing this whole thing together right now to help us achieve Industry 4.0. I'll give you an example of a project that we are working at in IBM Canada with a Canadian client to really bring it home. I can't share a lot of details about it because this is still a work in progress project. But imagine one of the North America's largest railway, where our goal is to automate the safety inspection of the train. What we have created is, if you have used 407, you've seen these antennas of the portal that basically scans your car when you enter or exit 407 for toll. We created that type of portal, we call it, on the railway tracks. So when one of these trains goes, and these are very long trains, you have probably waited 10 minutes for these trains to go. And now with the supply chain disruption, these trains are getting a bit longer. So when one of these trains goes, typically before all of these technologies, there are inspection years all over Canada and US where the train would stop, a human would go across the train, under the train, and do all of those, and it would take a few hours to do inspections. There's obviously safety issues for the worker that does the inspection, but the other thing is if one of these rail derails, which happens maybe once a year or so, is a big problem. Wherever a train derailment happened, creates a lot of disaster in the neighborhood area. So to help with that, what we created is this portal, which has 360 cameras on the track. As the train goes, all these cameras wakes up, take pictures, and then what we have created is, am I going to be able to take 20,000 images, right, over the network and run AI and give the results back, because we only have 10 minutes. If we don't want the train to stop at the yard and just go because we have done the automated inspection, we have 20 minutes basically for all that. So we created this edge system that runs right there on the track. All the hardware is right there on the track. My team created over 200 plus models last year. We deployed these models, and first time we ran all of those on that edge compute system, it took us like 1 hour to run all those models, which did not meet the SLA. So then we go back and then we tune our models for performance. We tune those edge hardware for performance. We tune all the stacks in between the software and hardware for performance to achieve that 20-minute SLA. This is probably one of the biggest global example of how you take so many models, and each of these models, think about, is a type of inspection that a human would do, looking at a number of elements. So it could be, okay, a bolt is missing, it could be a door is broken, it could be a cable is loose, or it could be more complex, where you look at combination of things from the brake pistons to the bolts, and then you measure a combination of things, you see the angle of a combination of things, and you say it's a critical issue or it's not. So this is how you start to create advanced models with computer vision. But then over the last 4 or 5 years, we were just trying to prove, can these models be accurate enough for us to have these models do the automation? Now more and more, there's so much algorithms out there and open source. You don't need any expensive tool sets. You can go and download a lot of these models for free. But where companies like Microsoft, IBM, Google, Apple, AWS, they're working with the open source community, as well as a lot of the startup ecosystem, is to take these models, take these AI tool sets, and really creating a set of tools that becomes a low-code, no-code type of environment for you to create this type of systems. So you don't have to have a PhD data scientist to create this type of models. You can actually use advanced digital tools to create this type of solutions without knowing a lot of coding or data science yourself. And that's really what we are after over the next 5 years or so. So anybody here in this call, all 88 of us, can create this type of model. That's really the goal. Okay. To create this type of solutions, this is a reference architecture point of view. As I said, the role IBM is looking to play in this world is what we call a hybrid cloud and AI ecosystem. We are not here to play a role where you get locked in with an IBM type of technologies. We want to work with the entire ecosystem. Obviously, the largest players, some of the logos you see at the bottom, but the smallest players, from the startups to the open source communities. And we believe the models can come from anyone, the compute can come from anyone, the infrastructure, the hardware, the cloud can come from anyone. What we want to create is this open ecosystem of this hybrid cloud and AI. Where IBM is focusing on is the layers where we give you this development platform in this ecosystem, where regardless of where you want to run it on AWS, Azure, or you want to run it on Edge, you can use a set of tool sets to create this AI solutions with ease. And then we bring a set of machine learning accelerators, a set of DevOps type of tools, so you can really run these models from the cloud to the edge. You can create predictive analytics. You can create conversational AI like chatbots. You can generate insight from unstructured content like video, images, or even PDF documents. You can really work with IoT data and you can achieve automation. And the more and more this area is becoming sophisticated, the more and more you'll see that everything's coming in a cycle. If you've seen things in 90s, early 90s, you saw client server. Then if you've seen things in mid 2000s, you saw mobile applications. Now you see cloud and then AI. But it's similar type of software engineering principles you have to use. And a lot of those things we're trying to create in a package so it becomes easy for people to adopt and fast for us to create this type of models and test it. The main thing is to be able to test it in real world, not inside a test lab. Some of the challenge that's still in front of us is, first of all, the leadership, right? Everybody needs to engage together from a top, middle, everywhere within a company. That could be the industrial sectors, it could be the governments, it could be the technology sectors, but there needs to be buy-in across the board because these are where so many different technologies are coming together and everybody needs to work together. And then a lot of the areas where even though we have AI models, okay, 99% accurate, but if that does not integrate with all the systems in an enterprise, you can really operationalize it. And a lot of works, not just in the industrial sector, is when like the banks and where there's models are proven, but still takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to actually deploy them and integrate with all the systems that you need to. And so a lot of the work actually now going towards data modernization and app modernization before you can really take the full power of AI. And all of that means the organizations need new type of talents, new type of skills to take those legacy thinking, the legacy design, the legacy systems, and create the new type of systems that can really incorporate AI and other exponential technologies that are coming, like blockchain, like quantum computing, like IoT and edge. I want to switch gear a little bit and take a couple of minutes and talk about some of the things IBM is doing for future skills. So there's a lot of these you can Google. There's a website actually we have, not ibm.com, but go to ibm.org. IBM.org is basically everything for nonprofit, for the communities. So you can see a lot of these initiatives I have on these slides, and I sent Kader this deck as well. So feel free to share with anybody that needs this. I don't have anything that's confidential here. But IBM.org will tell you about a lot of those things we're doing for the community. One of them is this tech reentry program. So anybody that wants to basically re-enter the workforce and looking to restart their career, and you can get some IBM badges that can help you get that employment, you can look into this program. Then this is the other one that I work with. We call it P-Tech. This is for a little bit of earlier age. This is for students that can learn that high school diploma as well as a 2-year associate degree in that STEM field. So remember my story. When I got this type of exposure when I went to University of Waterloo, but I didn't have this type of exposure when I was in high school. So this is where you are going to be able to get that type of exposure working with technology companies, working with new ways of thinking like agile and design thinking with a set of partners and across different countries, including Canada, in this P-Tech program. This is an initiative we run. So this is for my friends that are building their own startups. We call it Call for Code, where you can participate and you can create a solution that really helps with the future of the world and society, climate risk, that type of areas, COVID, anything that helps the world. We are asking you to submit your code, submit your project, and IBM really helps take your company, your solutions go to the next level. And some of the projects we created, one of them that I was involved with is the third one, which is creating a network around natural disasters. So this happened during a couple of years ago when hurricanes destroyed a lot of the areas in the Caribbean and North America. And we work with a team that created this rubber ducky-based IoT system that you just put these rubber duckies in the water, and then those rubber duckies created a mesh network, so people in the areas of those natural disasters that cannot connect to the phone tower, they can use that mesh network to get their phone back up for a small number of time and can let people know their location. So very proud of that project. So you can submit your projects like that. And Kader already mentioned we have a program called Startup with IBM. This is where basically if you're a startup and you're looking to get access to some technologies, some cloud compute, we actually had 2 offices, one in Spadina, one in Markham, where we would allow the startups to come and basically incubate, working with other startups. Of course, the physical offices right now are not open, but that's the type of programs we run in Canada as well as globally, where you can get access to network, access to technology, as well as access to an ecosystem. So that's basically it that I wanted to present today. I can definitely hang around and take any questions right now if you would want to ask anything or anything on the chat, as well as I'll monitor the chat throughout the things, and feel free to find me on LinkedIn as well if you want to connect.
Do you mind sharing your LinkedIn profile on link on the chat if that's okay? And if any of the speakers that want to connect, just do that. Make it easier for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Great presentation, Sheikh. Thanks a lot. First, I have many thanks to tell you, right? First of all, thanks for introducing us to Bon. They were able to get affiliate with IBM startup program. Thanks a lot for that. Second thanks is for coming in and sharing your insight. You kind of mentioned that you're going to stick around for some time. We have a panel towards the end. Would you like to be there? Depending upon your availability, we can ask few questions that's been asked now or later.
Yeah, so it will depend on the time. So obviously, as you know, the environment, I have 2 boys. So if they want me to go outside now and start doing something, I may get dragged out. So,
okay. Let's spend some time to ask a few questions that's on the chat. Let's get started, Adarsh. Yeah. Let me quickly check here. So there's a question from Khalid Khan which says how it could help in quality control. So what? I don't know how means what. Maybe he meant a digital twin, I guess. How digital twin could help in quality control, Ashik?
Yeah, so I would say the first step right now, the one that we are seeing the biggest penetration is that AI computer vision. Like think about the railway example I gave you, and we are working with different manufacturers where basically on your manufacturing line, you can put cameras, and some of these cameras already have image recognition components. But sometimes if you want to do something more advanced, then what you do is you'd use the cameras as an image acquisition system, and you can connect that with a small hardware. It could be basically a Raspberry Pi or like an NVIDIA AGX, or you can buy like obviously bigger servers from basically any of the bigger names out there. But if you just want to run a proof of concept, the cost is very low. Within less than $1,000, you can stand up a camera, you can stand up an edge system, and then basically you can run some AI computer vision models, and there's a lot of open source models out there. So I would say that would be the easiest entry point. And the best thing about building AI computer vision is very easy for you to test your results, right? Something like a predictive analytics, you need massive amount of time to run your models to see if you're predicting the right result. But something like in a production line, let's say you're creating a box and you just want to make sure the box is not broken, or you're making cookies or pizzas, or let's say you're making car body parts and you want to make sure the paint is correct or the bolts are correct. It's very easy. You get the image and you'll know. As a human, by looking at it, you'll know if it's broken or not, and then you see if your AI is doing that. So it's a very good entry point. using computer vision, and that allows you to get towards that digital twin. Then the next step would be, okay, can I create that type of camera view for the 360 view for the whole factory floor? Can I create the 3D models, and can I simulate the factory floor? I would say it's still very early for those type of thinking, but we have to get there, right? So the way I encourage everybody is, when you take on this type of project, don't think about that, okay, I just want to do that one POC that's going to say, that part is broken or not. And of course, taking that POC to production is all an adventure on its own. So you can do that. But to get buy-in, remember we talked about that buy-in from top to middle, right? Because if you don't have buy-in from top, then you can't get to digital twin. And to get to digital twin, you really need buy-in from top. Like if you look at the railway, they really came up with a 5-year plan where they say they're going to do this much of safety, they're gonna save this much of dollar over 5 years, and they're gonna work on it for the next 3 years. So you need to have a plan like that, because a lot of the companies, what they're doing is they're doing these proof of concepts to that middle management, and then you prove out that, the technology works, but then you cannot really operationalize it, because to operationalize it, you need the entire organization behind you. So I would say it's the shoot for the star, right? And like aim for the star and then get to the moon type of thing. So think about digital twin, autonomous factory, right? With no human, and then the human is really used as a knowledge worker, deciding how to optimize process. But start with smaller proof of concepts like AI computer vision for visual inspection.
Thank you, Ashik. We really have lots of questions, Ashik. I really wish you are able to stay back. Maybe you can take a break now and come back after 40 minutes to stay in our panel. There's a lot of interesting questions that we have been receiving. Because of the time limit, we would probably move on now and
sure.
take the rest of the
Yeah.
questions.
So about what, 12:30-ish?
Yeah, 12:30-ish. Yeah, 12:20. We try to close by 12:30 and then leave it for networking. We'll try our best to squeeze that. Okay. Thank you, Ashik. All right. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. Razan, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can, and I'm going to thank Ashik on behalf of all of us. And so many great questions, so many great comments, lots of gratitude, and we saw a lot of little emoticons going up when Ashik was talking. So clearly he was a favorite. So thank you, Ashik, for coming back to us. And also a big thank you to all our individual cash donors. And these are all individuals who have, put their own resources, cash resources towards the development of TestTopper and the work that TestTopper does. And so helping us to move forward every step of the way. So thank you, each one of you. You are so vital and important to us and everything that we do. And we are grateful to have each and every one of you. So I think we can move to the next slide, Kader. And I think the next slide is, yes. So we are inviting Devansh Kora from Finstrom. And Devansh is actually going to answer a very important question for us. But before that, I do want to say that Devansh works at Finstra as the Director of Cloud Service Operations. Devansh, are you with us? Devansh, are you with us?
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry about that.
I was about to say that. Okay, so welcome. I'm so happy to hear your voice and see you. So quick question. Tell us why you would join TestTopper and support TestTopper as an individual attendee to the programs. So take it away.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, there are so many various reasons, but I'll try to concise that in a small one in a minute. TestTopper gives us an experience on how intelligent technologies in the tech ecosystem will impact our professional growth options. It gives us the develop tailored technical skills and innovation through continuous learning and take control of our long-term outcomes. It's basically for the people who really want to develop their careers in the tech system. TestTopper will give us the opportunity to get the mentorship on certain career pathways in which we want to develop our technical skills, along with it gives us the opportunity to work on those projects where we want to develop our career pathways. For example, if a person who's coming from a typical simple programming background wants to transform himself onto an AI technologies, that's the place where you can get the mentorship from some experts within the community and also give us the opportunity to do some projects and develop our skills. So if I am a professional, I would always want to grow, and Testopper is a place which can hone my skills to take those steps in my career. It will also give us an opportunity to network with various industry experts from whom we can get guidance on our steps for future. For the people who want to transform themselves from an employee to entrepreneur, Testopper can give them a platform where you can take guidance from some people who have successfully achieved some of their career ambitions in setting up their successful enterprises. Along with that, if a professional wants to transform his career from one career path to another, Testopper is a place. Normally, in a day job, for example, a person is a technocrat working in a technical department. He would only get an exposure into the technical stream. Like, for example, I'll take myself. I have been technical in the operations field and grown in my own field. But if I say that, do I know marketing? Do I know sales? Do I know finance? Up to a very limited extent. How can I tomorrow move to a person who could be successful in sales? I want to become a technical commercial professional. For that, I need to know sales. Testopper is a place where I can get the exposure and work along with the sales and marketing folks and learn that how we have to do sales, how marketing techniques are put into implementation. And then probably that would help myself growing in my career as well. So at the end, I would say Testopper is a place for everybody who wants to start his career, to a person who wants to transform his career, to a person who wants to take next steps in his career, and a person who wants to take the steps towards an entrepreneurial journey. Testopper is a place for every professional.
Thank you.